Plaintiff Vincent Bear is suing his childhood friend Joseph Pine for the value of a tattoo kit. Vincent says he tried to help the defendant when he was down and out, but he now feels he took advantage of their friendship. But Joseph denies owing his former friend for the tattoo kit because he claims the plaintiff took it back.
All right, this is a case of Vincent Bear, who is suing his former friend for the value of a tattoo kit and late fees, defendant, of course, being Joseph Pine. All right, Vincent, how is it that we got into buying a tattoo kit? Is that what happened?
Joe and I are from the same town in New Jersey, and I've known him pretty much my whole life. Growing up, Joey was always the wise guy, would run his mouth and then take off, and and I'd catch him, and we'd rattle his cage a little bit. A few years went by after that. Ran into Joey at a bar, and he comes up to me and he's like, "Do you remember who I am?" I was like, "Of course I remember. You're Joey Pine." And he like got in my face. He's like, "Remember when you used to rattle my cage as a kid?" And I was like, "You want me to rattle it again?" And he immediately backed down, Your Honor.
That's not true.
It was most certainly true. But the thing, needless to say, there was never animosity between us. I always liked him, but he was just that kind of guy. He had a way of pushing people's buttons.
He started dating.
Well, it's totally the opposite way around.
Who was rattling whose cage?
He was always a bully when I was younger.
A bully?
Yeah, he
was the bully.
He always went around thinking he always was going around thinking that he was a tough guy and pushing people around.
Did he push you around?
Well, I was a lot skinnier and thinner when I was younger. I was growing up poor. I was bit of a geek when I was younger, and he always thought that was funny and made a big thing out of picking on me.
He came back. He wasn't a geek anymore, huh?
Well, Your Honor, that's in the eye of the beholder. I wasn't a bully. I'm a small guy. The thing with Joe is, like I said, Joey's a very likable guy. And
all right, so you two seem to like each other.
I have no animosity towards the judge.
Used to.
Your Honor, I have to this day. There's not a mad bone in my body about Mr. Pine.
Okay.
Joey was in a jam. He needed a place to go. He was going to be homeless. He was unemployed. I have a duplex. I said, "Yo, Joe, don't worry about it. You can move in with me." I invited him into my home. Never charged him a dime. Never asked him for anything, Your Honor.
So he lets you move in with him? You're unemployed? Yes. You're, on your last dollar?
Yeah, I needed a place to stay, and he offered me a place to stay, knowing that I was going to be out of my residence within a couple of weeks. And he offered me to come and live at his place until I got back on my feet.
All right. Did you get back on your feet?
Yes, I have.
Okay. So was there any agreement as to what should be?
Well, there was no problem. Joey wasn't costing me money. I have a place at the Jersey Shore, and I was staying at a girlfriend's house. So it was nice to have somebody at my house, especially over the winter.
Okay, so you're not looking for any rent money or anything like that?
No problem at all. Joey's like I said, he's a very likable guy, and I got to know him better. And I thought that he was a very, very good friend of mine. And him and I were chatting. He's very talented. The guy's probably one of the best artists I've ever seen. And I said, "What do you want to do, Joe?" And he's like, "I'd like to go in a tattoo business." I said, "Well, what do you need for that?" He says, "Oh, I need a tattoo gun and blah, blah, blah." I'm like, "Show me him." And he found one, and it was a nice kit. It had everything that he needed. I said, "Is this the best you can get?" He's like, "Yeah." I said, "All right, I'll help you get it." And me and him made an agreement. And I said, "I'll help you with this." And I gave him the terms and everything like that.
What are the terms?
The terms were I was going to give him a chance to get on his feet because I knew he didn't have any money.
How much was the tattoo kit?
$580.
$580.
There were cheaper units that he could have purchased.
He just said he wanted you to have the best one.
It was his choice to buy the most
Well,
expensive.
it's his choice, but he's getting it for you. Is there any question that you agreed to pay him back?
No, not at all.
So it wasn't a gift. All right, so don't complain it was the most expensive one. You're going to pay back, pay him back for it, right?
I just didn't want to make it like I was trying to get the best out of.
No, I didn't get that sense at all.
Okay.
The sense that I'm getting from him is that here's a guy who thinks you're very talented. He brought you into his house. He's enjoying your friendship, and he wants you to get back on your feet. He's doing the best he can to do that for you. So where's the breakdown here?
Well, the problem was, Your Honor, it really didn't start to happen until after Joey lived with me for a few months. He never paid me a dime rent. Never.
And you didn't ask him?
He never costed me money.
All right.
I got him a job working with us. And one time on the job, I had a load of a whole pallet of hardwood floor that we needed to unload. And Joey says, I'm not going out in the rain. That's when I start to see who he was.
Is that true?
He's not mentioning the fact that I had the flu, and that morning I specified to him that I wasn't working in the rain because it was an outside job. There was no overhead cover for us.
Did he tell you he was sick that day?
Your Honor.
That's a yes or no?
No.
Okay. So he's working and you don't want to get wet because you say you have the flu.
Right,
okay.
that's bottom line. But that's when I saw who Joey was. He very selfish,
All right. Now
self-centered
you're becoming
person.
disillusioned.
And it was like a realization, you know. And after that, I started noticing little things. Like he would make himself scarce. And the straw that broke the camel's back was I came home one time and the heat was on. And nobody was home. And it was Joey come in a little bit later. I said, yo, Joe, I don't care you run the heat, but you got to shut it off when you leave.
Yeah, but if he shuts it off when he leaves, and I don't even know his answer, isn't it going to cost more money to turn it on when he gets home?
I'd rather not be running when nobody was there, Your Honor. But that wasn't a big deal.
I said to him,
you just said that was the straw that broke the camel's back.
It's one of the things where I realized that he was costing me money, Your Honor.
Yeah, all right. So
that was just one of the many.
Okay, what's your version?
That was just one of the many rules that he started laying down once I moved in. And I forgot to turn the heat off that morning when I got up to leave. And I came back, and right away he was in my face and specifying that he was the alpha male, and that he makes the rules in the house, and that if I didn't like him, I could find someplace else to live. So that night I left to go find a new place to live.
What do you think happened?
I don't know. I think it's been a situation with him all the time. He's always been that, way ruling and stuff like that. He's always been pushy on the way he wants things to be.
But he did open his house to you.
Yes, he did. and unfortunately, it turned out to be this way.
Before you left Vinny's house, did you have any customers for tattooing?
Well, I wouldn't say customers. They were friends.
They were friends that you would work on.
Trusting to let me tattoo them, which I had only done maybe 3, 4 at the most.
So you hadn't made any money with the machine at all?
No, Your Honor.
You have to get a certification as well.
Yes, ma'am. That's correct.
Okay, and you hadn't gotten that?
No, Your Honor.
So there was no way that you could get a job? Unless you had the certification.
I can apprenticeship, right? I can apprenticeship under a certified tattooist for 2,000 hours, and then I could begin to start making money. I explained that to him. I told him it was going to take me a while to get into the business.
Right, you got
learn.
that, right?
I understood that, Your Honor, without a problem. I'm a very reasonable person.
But that's why he took the tattooing kit back when we had the argument about the heat.
Okay, so you had the argument about the heat.
Yeah.
Did you ever pay him back for the tattoo machine?
No.
Why not?
Because he broke the contract and
he broke what contract?
We signed a piece of paper writing down that he agreed to purchase the kit for me, and I agreed to pay for it.
Okay, do you have that promissory note?
Yes, I don't. I believe he may have a copy.
Okay,
though.
Let's see it. All right, RE Flame Tattoo Kit. On February 14th, I, Joseph Pine, received a new flame tattoo kit from Vincent Bayer. The cost of the kit is $580. Loan is to be paid in full, interest-free by August 1. If the loan is not repaid in full by said date, I agree to pay an additional $25 a month until the loan is satisfied. $25 a month? That's usurious.
I think
just an example.
I've been burned a number of times trying to help people out, Your Honor, and it was protecting me.
This is the kind of interest rate that people go to jail for. Way too high.
I don't have a degree in banking, Your Honor, or finance. All I know is money came out of my pocket, and therefore that's why I put it in writing, Your Honor.
So what are you suing for today?
I want the fees, and I want the money for the tattoo gun, Your Honor.
All right. That's $1,630, which is what you're suing for.
Yes.
That's ridiculous.
I'll decide that.
Okay.
What do you want to tell me?
Well, he's had possession of the tattooing kit, so there should be no interest in curing.
You have the tattoo kit?
No, I don't, Your Honor.
Who has the tattoo kit?
He took it from me the day I moved out. When I came back to grab my personal belongings, the tattoo kit was gone. I left a note on his dining room table telling him that it didn't have to be like this, that I had plans on paying for the tattooing equipment. He told me that he didn't trust me and that he was taking it back until I paid him in full.
Did you pay anything at all for the tattoo?
No, I never had the chance to.
So when you left him no money?
I left him no money.
You left the tattoo kit there?
Yes.
Okay.
It's not there, Your Honor. And that's the whole thing about it. He's like, you have it. When I came home to a note.
Why should I believe you that you left the tattoo gun there?
Because I would have continued to make money off of it. I would have continued to tattooing and start making money off of it.
Do you feel, Vincent, that he should pay you because you bought the gun, and you know, even if you have it, that you're entitled to money because you have something that you don't
No,
need?
Your Honor, I feel that he should pay me because he has the gun. He bought the gun. He knew what he was going to do with it. He's very talented. Like I said, I can't say nothing bad about Joey's talent. He's a very talented guy. And
But he says he left the gun at your place.
Your Honor, if he left it at my place, that's on him. You know, I wasn't there. Like I said, I have a place down the shore. I came home to this note.
Your Honor,
Let me see the note.
Your Honor, I left everything. The day I came back to get my stuff, everything was there except for the tattooing equipment.
Sorry about all the between us. I'll try to give you $100 a week until my debt to you is paid. I'm still leaving, so this doesn't happen again. I should have my stuff out by the weekend, Joe. The plaintiff is suing the defendant for a verbal agreement that is, you know, documented in a contract, basically, that both of them are bound by. The plaintiff is loaning the defendant $580 for a tattoo kit, and the defendant agrees to pay him in a certain way, $145 in several increments, in several payments. The defendant is alleging that because of the back and forth between the two of them, he left the tattoo gun there. The plaintiff is claiming that he doesn't have the tattoo gun, but he's also added $25 a month in what I consider to be a usurious interest rate if the loan is not satisfied. It's really a toss-up as to whether or not the plaintiff has the gun or whether the defendant took the gun with him. I tend to believe that the plaintiff does not have the gun. And the reason for that is as follows. He says that he seems to be a generous guy who allowed the defendant to move in with him. All right. Whatever the bad blood was before, whoever was the geek or not the geek, went to whose cage. I mean, I don't know and I don't really care. But he was nice enough to bring you in and not charge her for anything. I don't think he'd come to court and, you know, try to pull the wool over the court's eyes about $580. But this promissory note that's signed by you, in addition to the promissory note that you originally signed, indicates that you know that you owe him money, and when you left, you knew that you owed him money. If this was the only thing you owed him money for, why are you writing him a note that you owe him $100 and that you're going to continue to pay him $100 a week? That tells me that you owe him money. Now, I'm going to award the verdict on behalf of the plaintiff for $580. The $25 a month for an interest rate is totally out of line. Good luck to you.
Thank you.